I was doing Spain versus Portugal last night. It was absolutely superb. Listen, the game wasn't superb. Watching Gavi was superb. 17 years of age. He looks like he should still be in school, and it's well past his bedtime. But he plays like he's 32, wiring into tackles, spraying passes, squirming out of tight spaces, intelligent, distributing the ball. He was fantastic. I sent a text to Graham Hunter, who's one of the Spanish football experts who works on La Liga TV, and I said to him last night, watching Gavi play football is like watching a young David Bowie sing while sitting on Bing Crosby's knee. You just know this guy is going to be a superstar in the future. I think he's going to be one of the best players in the world.
Quite an analogy, that, isn't it?
Yeah. Where'd you pluck that one from?
Yeah, very good.
It's just from my brain. Is that all right?
Inside the head of Sam Matterface. It wouldn't have been the analogy that I'd have gone for, but each their own.
You're not me, as we've already pointed out. I'm a lover, you're a hater.
And you're leading into the De Bruyne situation, are we? On the back
I am. I'm leading into the De Bruyne situation.
Because the Nations League. That's why I think the Nations League is such a good idea.
Me too, because De Bruyne is saying that he's worried about player welfare. The Nations League's unimportant. He's hit out at the lack of player care. The 21-22 campaign for De Bruyne will be extended into June with Belgium, beginning their qualifying campaign for the 22-23 finals in Italy. Well, actually, it's all about winning your group, and then you get through to the finals and try and win a trophy. I mean, he says it's unimportant. Well, I don't know how a team with the amount of talent that Belgium have got can turn round and dismiss a trophy like the Nations League, bearing in mind they've been tipped to win European Championships and World Cups galore over the last 5 years and have won none of them.
I mean, the Nations League was put in to surpass friendlies because they thought they were meaningless. I personally don't think friendlies are meaningless, but I think the Nations League has been brilliant. I really do. I take his point about overfacing players, and I understand that point. Personally, because of what international football meant to me, I'd rather them knock 2 or 4 games off the Premier League season, but keep international football.
That'll never happen.
Of course it won't. But the official statement from him and a lot of players, which we quite understand, we work with these players, they need more of a break than they're actually getting. The amount of games that they're asked to play, all of those types of things. I understand that. For me, if you're going to knock anything off, if someone say to me, what is the proudest thing you've ever done? It's representing my country. Not playing for the various clubs you've played for, which was a great honour in itself, but it doesn't stand top of the tree.
It's not at the pinnacle. International football is the pinnacle. It's about playing for your country. It's representing the people.
Yeah.
It's wearing the badge, the flag with pride. Yeah. It's going out and doing something that you dreamed of as a kid. Because when we all grow up watching international football, World Cups, European Championships. That's usually where we fall into in love with the game.
Does it depend where you're at as a player, though? You know, Kevin De Bruyne is used to winning Premier League titles. He's used to going deep into the Champions League, playing in finals
Not
domestically.
Really, because look at Lionel Messi. Lionel Messi, absolutely desperate to win something with Argentina. He would have done anything to win a World Cup with them. He won a Copa America, and it means the world. He turned up the other night to play in the Finalissima at Wembley because he's desperate to win trophies with his country.
But maybe Kevin De Bruyne is someone who just prefers playing club football. Maybe because he feels that Belgium as a nation with all that talent have underachieved.
And if we're talking about duty of care for people that play football, players that play in the nation in the National League probably play as many games, don't they? I would have thought they do.
Of course they do. And ultimately, I think you can manage it in a slightly different way. What's more important, I think, instead of moaning about the Nations League, I think this running of the Nations League is slightly different because it's been sandwiched into a very small time frame because of the COVID pandemic, the proximity of the World Cup, and things being moved around because we had 3 months, 4 months when there was no football. In fact, we went a year without international football almost. So as a result, everyone's playing catch up. But ultimately, in the grand scheme of the football calendar, the thing to get rid of and the things that are unimportant are the games in the European qualifiers against Andorra, Malta, Gibraltar, Latvia, those teams that regularly Belgium, England, Italy will knock over. So actually, take a leaf out of Gareth Southgate's book. When they're playing Andorra, change the 11, give those players, the higher profile players, the time off.
How about this? Following on from Alex's statement of you'll never change that, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we turn round and say, right, as a compromise, duty of care to these players and the amount of games that they play, as a duty of care to them, what we're going to do now is have a compromise. So we're not going to have less games in the Premier League, we're going to keep the international calendar as it is with these games, but if you're De Bruyne, you cannot play more than 30 games in the Premier League.
I don't think that's a bad idea, and actually not necessarily even just the 30, but managing each individual person, because some players who play from the start every game will need at some point during a season or a summer a rest. And I think it should be a little bit more like the way we do our holidays. We don't all take our holidays in the summer over 4 weeks. Plan a rest for Kevin De Bruyne so that he's got a 3-week period, I don't know, at the end of an international break where Belgium are playing Andorra and the start of a Premier League run where they've got a game against Norwich and
how do you decide which players fall into that category, though? Do you have a quality council?
That's called
but Stuart's saying there should actually be a regulation imposed where certain players like De Bruyne can only play 30 matches. But who decides which pool of players go into that group?
I think if you're deciding that, it's got to come a decision between A, the player, and B, the club manager. Because I think they're the ones with the most vested interest in all of this.
What about if you just goes back to the argument about pre-qualifying for major tournaments? No, but maybe if you can encompass the Nations League with the qualifying, I don't know how you would do that.
They are doing that. They've done that for the last European Championships. If you win your pathway, if you're in League D, for example, it's how North Macedonia got to the European Championships the other year. Because the way the Nations League has been structured is to try and encourage those smaller nations to have the odd place at a tournament every now and again. The thing is you turn around and say, do a pre-qualifying. Imagine if you're an Andorran footballer or a San Marino footballer or someone from Latvia, an emerging football nation, Kosovo, for example, who have actually very quickly started to progress as a footballing nation, and you're told, well, you can play international football, but you can only play against rubbish teams or teams that you don't really want to go and visit. You're not allowed to play England, Germany and Italy, though, because they're just a little bit too above it for you. Actually, England can have a bigger squad. Italy can have a bigger squad. Do you know what? When they play Kosovo, when they play Latvia, or when they play Gibraltar, or they play Andorra, use the second string or the third string. And if you think you're that good and you can handle it, it's up to you. Rotate your players.
Which most do anyway.
Exactly. It's about player management. At the end of the day, Manchester City could quite easily have a squad of 40 players, and afford to give Kevin De Bruyne a week off every now and again. They could do that, couldn't they?
Comfortably.
So why don't you just get better at managing players' welfare over the course of the season, rather than having this diktat that everybody has to have 6 weeks off during the summer months when the sun's shining? It's not as if they need the sun because they can just go off and fly to wherever they want.
I've always got really frustrated, not just from my time going back as an international manager, but beyond that, going back into the clubs. It's always international football that is the whipping boy that says, we'll stop internationals. No, that's the pinnacle. That, for me, is what has to stay in place. You have a look at the league programme and how you manage your players better. Some of these... I've seen club managers, and over the last 2 years, I've seen club managers moan that their players are getting played in international games and they shouldn't be playing, they should be rested. And on the Saturday before and the Saturday after, when their teams have been winning 3 and 4-0, those same players are still on the pitch playing 90 minutes.
There speaks a former international manager. You're listening to talkSPORT.
An unselfish international and club coach. Unselfish is the word you're looking for.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.